Hey y'all, welcome to the filling station. I am super excited, right? Because it's another day, it's another opportunity to make money or learn from the market. And yeah, so let me go ahead and give my disclaimer, y'all. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And the stock market is just one of those avenues, and yeah, just one of those avenues. And so this video is just for educational purposes only. With that being said, y'all, let's get started, right? So yesterday was an interesting day. One, we got some news. The feds came out, said what they said, did what they did, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this now at the beginning of this video, right? And you can say that crazy person at the filling station said it. I do not trust this move up. I'm going to say that again. Based on what we're seeing and based on what we're hearing, I just do not trust the move up. I say trade cautiously, trade carefully. Trade this is, again, not financial advice. Just be careful at your trades at this point, right? Because SPY just made a new 52-week high. That's something to think about. So we are looking at the VIX, and when the VIX is down, that means the SPY is up. And this is the daily chart, right? So the VIX can very well continue its down all the way into this 1159. And if it does, that means the SPY is going to go up, right? But we are a few minutes out from some economic data that's about to be released. And I'm super excited to see how, the market is going to react to that, right? Based on what was said and what we're actually seeing. So right now, again, looking at the VIX, we could very well continue to the downside, right? Which will make the SPY go to the upside, right? And that's interesting. It's just looking at it from this standpoint, it's just interesting. So we know where our support is for the VIX to the downside, which is at the $11.59. It could very well drop down. So let's go to the SPY because we are really close to getting some economic data, right? And we're going to go to the 30-minute time frame. 5-minute time frame tells us what we need to see, right? 30-minute time frame is going to give us a wider view of that. We came down and consolidated and have been consolidating all morning. I marked my pre-market high, which was at 523.79. That was this morning. We could very well come back and retest this. Or we can break through this support area here and fall down. And the fall will bring us back to, if we fall under all of that support, which is at under 522.05, we can come back down to 520.78, which is the 50 EMA on the 30-minute chart. So I'm going to just change the color so that I'll know exactly what that is, right? So looking at the SPY, we came down, we traded sideways, found some support, bounced off support, 5 and 50 cross. Look at the MACD. Those are things that you want to look at if you're wanting to enter your trades, right? Now it seems like we're trying to go back up and test this 523.80. Is it doable? It is. We are getting ready to get some news. So let's see how the market reacts to the unemployment initial jobless claims. Let's say that. So how are we going to respond to this? And that's what I always say, okay, the market's been up. SPY made a new 52-week high. The information that we heard yesterday versus what we're seeing is just a little bit different in my opinion, right? I'm an overthinker, I get it. So are we going to come down, find support, and continue bouncing to the upside? Or are we going to break through this and go to that downside and fill the gap? Because we're going to gap down. We're going to create a gap today. Most stocks, let me say that, it's going to create a gap today. And why? It's because SPY closed at 520.48 and we're at 523.25 or 523.15. We're still up almost $2 and something from yesterday's close. So it's going to create a gap to the downside, right? And it looks like we're not really getting a reaction from the market based on the news. That's interesting because it came out at 8:30. But hey, we still got time, right? So looking at this SPY, it tells me that, our support, again, is at this 522.05. Our resistance is at the 523.80 because that was a pre-market high. And right now we are above the 5 EMA. I would say trade what you see and be very, very careful because, again, I just don't trust this move up. I am going to set an alert under that 522.05 just to let me know that SPY is under a level of support. And going back to the 5-minute time frame, it looks like our 5 and 50 cross, we are going up, right? We have not changed much at all. It does look like our MACD wants to flatten a little bit here, so that's a concern. And our RSI is kind of pointing to the downside, so that will be a concern. But based on this candle that we see, I definitely understand why. Again, I say trade carefully, cautiously, pay very close attention to what your charts, and just learning the patterns of your charts. That's very, or your candles. That's very important, y'all. So I'm going to go to Tesla, which y'all know that's my favorite, right? So looking at Tesla on a 30-minute time frame, it looks like we've been consolidating in this area right here. And so I will wait on Tesla, and being that we're at the 30-minute, I like to change that to a color that I can remember, and I know that when I go to a smaller time frame that is my 30-minute, right? So right now, it looks like Tesla is breaking out of a consolidation area, or a gathering spot, as I like to say. You see how the stocks are, the candles are gathering here? Looks like we're trying to break out of that. We're above the 5 EMA. So that's different. Tesla closed at 175.66, y'all, and we already at, the high of this candle is 178.24. So we got to be careful, I'm telling you. And I will point out something in just a second on Tesla that I noticed that. So this is our gathering spot. We're breaking out of that gathering spot, so we need to be careful. The pre-market high is 179. We could very well come back up and test that 179. Let me say that. And let's go to a higher time frame before I go back to the 5-minute, right? So with Tesla, I think it was a 4-hour. The 4-hour, I believe I saw a cup and handle, and it's like a little U here. I saw a cup and handle, and if that's the case, the target for Tesla will be at the 187.76. So Tesla, if it breaks, it's already broken through that trigger place that I had marked at the 176 or 175 area. So if we continue up and break through these areas of support, that 179 higher than 180, if we're up in that 182 range, Tesla could very well reach that target of 187.76, which is the cup and handle target. So I will say that trade carefully, on this 4-hour. Is that giving us a hanging man? Is that a hanging man? That's something to think about. I just say trade what you see. And when I say a hanging man, it's at the top of this move here. Is it giving us a green hanging man, which tells us that we could very well come back to the downside? That is possible. However, I did see a cup and handle on the 4-hour chart for Tesla, and again, I always say trade what you see, right? So again, we're breaking out of this gathering spot. I would look and see if it breaks above the 179 and then, continue up past the 180 range. If we do, we could very well go and, reach that target. I would, again, y'all, I said trade carefully. This is Tesla on the 5-minute. As you can see, we're back this is our gathering spot here. So again, you set your alert above that breakout area or below that breakout area, and that's what you trade out of that place, or when it gets to that place. And do not rush into your trades today, because I believe this market is going to be different, in my opinion. Let me say that, right? So we are looking at NVDA. Let's look at the 5-minute, the 30-minute time frame. Okay, we had a gathering spot this morning from 4 till about 7, which was here. And as you can see, it just, consolidated, like went nowhere for a while. And then it tried to move up just a little bit. And it seemed like we're kind of having a hard time in that area. I look at the candles, the size of the candles, the wick of the candles, and the candles are really telling us something. Yeah. So, it seemed like the high of this is 923. We ran up to 923, but we had trouble in that area. So I know that this is for a pre-market high for me. If we get above this area, we might can continue to the upside. But based on what I see here on this 30-minute chart, we're really struggling in this area. So I would definitely watch, under the 919.91 area. If we break down below that, we can come back down to, this gathering spot, which is on in the range of 916.32 and 913.20. We could very well come back down to that area. And if we do, break through that 913.21 area or 913.20 area, the next level of support will be at the 911.63. So that's something to think about. And that's just looking at it on the 30-minute chart, right? It looks like we're having some issues in this area, and those candles are not really strong area candles. It broke out here of the gathering spot with a strong candle, but look how weak the other candles are. So I would say be very, very careful with that. This is our gathering spot here. This is where it shows it broke out. Again, back to trading sideways and really trading sideways. And look at our MACD. It's already crossed, but it hasn't given us that fanned out look that I like to see where the lines are separated. So NVDA, if you're trading that today, I would say be very, very careful, right? Trade what you see. Don't rush into your trades. Let your trades come to you. And Netflix is one that I have been watching, and Netflix is going to it's going to gap up today, meaning we're going to have a downside gap. But let me show you the importance of how sometimes I go in and mark the weekly inside day candles or the daily inside day candles. But I had a target for Netflix if it broke past this place of 622.92, that the target will be 624.42. But we made a high today of 632.90. So that kind of gives you a guide, an idea of how this stock could trade, or what possible targets. Nothing, let me go ahead and say this and clear it up now. Nothing is guaranteed in the market, right? Nothing is guaranteed in the market. We're going to look at Apple this morning, okay? So Apple had some gaps that needed to be filled. It looks as if Apple is trading sideways, right? And we see that here just by looking at the 30-minute chart. This is our gathering spot. That's where all of our candles are. That's where most of our candles are. Let's say that. So it looks like it tried to break out of that gathering spot. And we're having trouble getting high, moving higher. Let's say that. We're having trouble in that area. We came up here. It looks like it has a gap that needs to be filled at 177.36 up to 178.14. Can we fill that gap today? We possibly can. And again, trade what you see. Set your alert if you trade Apple to let you know that we're breaking out of a gathering spot. We can see that on the 30-minute chart. And, are we going to continue to the upside? That's the question. And support based on the 30-minute chart is at the 177. So keep that in mind, the 177 range. And this is Apple on the 5-minute chart. Looks like we're having trouble at that 177.48. So that's something to remember, right? If a stock go up to a place and it gets rejected, normally it gets rejected the first time, but that's normally, let me say that. And so if it goes to that area, gets rejected, and then it has trouble getting back to that area, then it's getting rejected. That means it's probably not going to stay there long. Let me say, I've been trying to find an easier way to explain it, but yeah, we're having trouble in that area. Just remember that with Apple. So Apple has been consolidating. It tried to break out of the consolidation, but it got rejected at that 177.47. We're having trouble in that area. It can come down and find support at that 176.99 or that 177 area, and then take us back to the gathering spot. Today may be, one of those days. Let's watch and see what the market is giving us, or what is the chart showing us. That SMCI is one that I have been looking at, y'all. This is a very tricky stock. Let me say that one more time. Yes, we have hit pre-market high of 945.67. So I'm going to mark that 945.67. And I know that we could possibly go back to this area, and we could not. It has been consolidating, right, for a while now, and SMCI has gaps to the upside and to the downside. So that's one that you have to be very, very careful with, because you could very well fill the downside gap or the upside gap. But again, we mark the gathering spots only because it gives us an idea that it could possibly, once it get past this area here, we can trade, or it's okay. It's a decent place to get in the trade. I can't say a safe place, because everything can change at any given moment. Let me say that. Trade what you see. So again, this is SMCI. It looks like we have been consolidating in that gathering spot. Again, you can mark your gathering spot on the 30-minute chart and then go, set your alerts. Go back to your 5-minute chart, and you can see that it's not really moving too far. It's not moving a lot, right? So that can change when the market opens. That's something to think about. And I just want to look at the SPY again based on the news that we got. The SPY is not moving as much, right? So we still closed at 520.48. We did get some reversal candles, and I do believe that we may trade down a little today. We need to trade down just a little bit, because we have made high of 523.80. And again, we are still above the 5 EMA, but y'all look at how SPY moved on yesterday. If you traded the SPY, if you waited on this breakout and set your alert at this gathering spot, that was a nice trade. So it went from 516 all the way up to 520. So if you would have marked your gathering spot, set your alert, and traded the SPY from this point all the way up to this point, that would have been a decent trade. So y'all listen, I always say trade what you see. Pay attention to your levels of, your gathering spots or your consolidation areas, as most people would say, and trade that. Trade the breakouts, y'all. It's so good to get in a place that, hey, it's been consolidating a long time, so the move should be somewhat decent or profitable. Let me say that. And again, nothing is guaranteed in the market. So y'all listen, thank you so much for taking your time to listen today. I'm super, super excited. It's a new day with new opportunities. I say that a lot, right? And sometimes we have to look for those opportunities. So with that being said, have an awesome, awesome day today, y'all. Have an awesome day. And listen, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.